Hello, hello. You guys can hear me? Awesome. Everybody is hopping in. It is good to see you. There we go. Just fixing my mic. All right. Yay. Okay. So good to see some of you. I haven't seen some of you for a while, and this makes me smile to see you. Okay. Let us get started. So today we're talking about tapping into your intuition. Yay. So your intuition has been with you your entire life. It's always been there. Okay? But most people, when we tap into it, we do it unconsciously. So that means we do it without actually meaning to do it. So here and there, you might get little insights or aha moments or serendipity happens, but it's not on a regular basis. Okay, so just like any other skill that you have or talent, if you work to develop it, the more you can tap into it and the more that you can hear it. Right, so we're going to give you some tool strategies in order to do that. So the best state to tap into it, to hear the messages from your higher self, is when you have a balanced nervous system. Okay, that does not mean that you're in a balanced state, meaning it doesn't mean your external circumstances, that things aren't happening to you or things out of your control aren't happening to you. It means that you can be in a place where no matter what is happening to you, you can still hear the inner voice. So your nervous system is balanced. It does not mean chaos is not going out. Chaos is not going on around you. Okay, so don't take it to mean that bad things are never going to happen. They are always going to happen. Something is always going to happen. That is the nature of the life that we live, is that there is a certain rhythm to life. And so as long as you can remain balanced internally, that's when the messages come about. So what does this mean? We talked about this before, but the nervous system for the new people is divided into your sympathetic, your parasympathetic subsystems, right? So your sympathetic is that what's wired for your fight, your flight. So fighting, flight, run away, freeze, and fawn response. Okay. This is a life-saving response. Okay, it's also what we call a trauma response. Whereas your parasympathetic nervous system is the rest, the digest, and where a lot of healing occurs. Okay. In the sympathetic, so the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response, I want you to just imagine that you're being chased by a bear. Okay, so what would happen to allow you to escape this encounter? So for most of us, or some of it, you might, let's say you decide to run. Okay, if you decide to run, your heart rate would increase, right, to pump more blood into the muscles. You get adrenaline through your body. Cortisol would be released as a hormone, right? So these hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, are going to bathe your entire body, and they set off these chemical reactions and pathways so that you can get out of there. Your blood pressure increases, all these things, and that's to get more blood into your limbs. Your digestive system, when you're running from a bear, it actually stops or really slows down because that system requires a lot of energy and blood. Okay, so your body would shut it down temporarily to use the blood to go to other areas of your body so you can get away. So this system, again, is supposed to be for short-term use, right? If you encounter a bear, we know the outcome fairly quickly. Right? The challenge nowadays is that system that's being activated for the small things are now being used all the time. So we are seeing people with, heart disease, high blood pressure, muscle tension, digestive issues, just, small things based on that one little part of running away from a bear. We're getting that all the time. So those are some of the health consequences, but there's also emotional and mental consequences of that. Imagine what it's like for your mind and your emotions to always think that you're being chased by a bear, right? What kind of emotions do you experience when you're in that fear state? What kind of thoughts are you hearing? A lot of fear, which is natural. You are trying to run away, but if it's your computer screen, if it's the email, if it's the traffic that's causing these the sympathetic nervous system to respond as if you were being chased by a bear, then you cannot hear the intuition because you're so much in that state of fear. Does that make sense? So it isn't the survival of the fittest that counts. It's always been the species that's most adaptable to change. So we want to ultimately be able to regulate the nervous system so that you're in the correct state at the time that you need to be. So if you need to be in the sympathetic state, you can be. If you need to be in the parasympathetic, you can be as well. So you are adaptable. That's what we want, adaptability. Adaptability in the spine, in the nervous system, in our emotions, and in our thoughts. So let's just take emotions, for example. If you only had two emotions, anger and sad and happy, happy and sad, right? If something happens to you, someone cuts you off in traffic, you go, I'm happy, I'm sad, or sad. If something, if you get an email, you go, that makes me happy, that makes me sad, right? You have those two responses in your nervous system. So two different emotions will lead to two different thought train patterns, different actions that you're going to take. However, if you have happy, sad, mad, glad, let's say, then you have a wider range of response to choose from. Now imagine you added 30 emotions that you could feel on a regular basis. Would your reaction be different if something irritated you versus something angered you? Of course. If you're angry, you might hit something or hit someone, but if it was just irritation, then it doesn't get the same response. So the bigger range of emotion gives you more adaptability in your nervous system. Okay. And we weren't put here, on this earth to simply survive, right? We were given the tools to thrive. That's why you have intuition. That's why you have desire. That's why you are seeking more than, more health, more life, more abundance, more relationships, in whatever it is, more connection. We're seeking more because in us is inherently the search for more, the desire for more. Because in receiving more and giving more, you get to grow into using all the different talents and gifts that you have. So your internal intuition is that internal guidance system that helps you to unlock the different keys to thriving. So I want you to just take a look at the last time you were in a conflict situation or you had to deal with conflict. So most people don't enjoy conflict and don't like having difficult conversations. How did you react? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn? What is your reaction to conflict? Go ahead and type it in the chat. So I'll keep going as we, because it does take time for it to populate. So fight is, if you're in an argument, do you get angry? Do you shout? Do you do all the things, throw things? Okay. Fight, depending on the situation. Fawn, silence. Yeah, so silence usually is associated with freeze, right? So you don't say anything. Walk away is like running. Yeah, fight or flight, to ignore. Yeah, for sure. It's good to know how you respond, because then you can say in that moment, oh, I'm having a trauma response, or I'm being triggered and this is my trauma response, right? It is something that's deep within your nervous system. So you're responding, you're reacting before you even are able to think about it, okay? Because it's happening at the lower level of the lower brain. If you're looking at the higher cortical thinking centers, where you have the ability to reason and logic and will, it takes more time to process the information. So freezing is sticking your head in the sand or staying silent or numbing out your emotions. And for fawn, for those that don't know, it's about people pleasing, going along with other people's perspectives, beliefs, or values, but without searching to see if they match who you are, right? Fawning can also be dissociating, so leaving your body or spacing out, letting other people make the decision so you don't have to, right? If someone else makes the decision, then you don't have to decide. It could be avoiding situations that could lead to conflict. In fawning, people are usually scared of saying no, or they can be super polite, over agreeable. Sure, I'll do anything, you know, at the expense of themselves. And then also for fawn, people can be hyper aware, so really aware of other people's emotions and surroundings while betraying your own. And all that is learned from childhood because that's what kept you safe. Right? What kept you safe is being able to read everybody else. You didn't learn to read yourself because that didn't matter at the time. You read everybody else and you said, okay, mom gets angry when I'm not the good girl, so I am going to be the good girl for mom. Dad gets angry when I do this, so I am going to change myself in this way. And if I'm the funny one in the family, then nobody gets mad at this. Yeah, the responses can vary depending on the situation, for sure. Sometimes you're fight, sometimes you're free. Sometimes it happens so quickly, like you might just start fighting and then somebody said something and then you're like, see ya, I'm out of here. But the idea is to know what your go-to is so that when you catch yourself like running out the door, you're like, oh, I just, you know, ran away from that. Then what you say into your head is this, whatever is happening right now, is this threat real or perceived? If it's a real threat, obviously get out of whatever situation you are in. But if it's a perceived threat, then you can say to yourself, all right, threat is not actually real. What do I do with that? Okay. And that's why it's important to know how you respond during stressful situations, during conflict. It's so that you can detect it when you're in the trauma response. Like you can watch yourself and see how you react. It doesn't mean it changes right away. The awareness is the first thing that happened. So the first time, you know, 10 minutes after an argument, you might be like, oh, I ran out of the house. Okay, great. You know, I took my keys and left. Next time you notice it while you're grabbing your keys. Next time you notice it while you're in the conversation. And then you can decide, if you notice it then, you can decide, hey, do I experiment and do I just stay? See what happens if I just stay? Right? So that you can eventually change the response. And because a lot of these responses have been in our nervous system for so long, it's not an overnight thing, right? It's like relearning a pattern, relearning how to walk. Like you don't remember, or most of us don't remember how hard it was for us to walk. But if any of you have kids and you watch them, they fall so much. Like I felt so bad when my kids were learning, but I had to let them fall because they would never learn. But like, you know, bash their head, fall on their butt. Like if I fell that many times in a day, I would be in some serious trouble, right? I would be very sore all over. So you don't forget, but you had to fall lots of times before you learned how to walk. And so you're gonna, although you're aware of this, maybe it takes you 2 days to figure it out. Maybe it takes you 1 day, and then, you know, the time shortens. And as the time shortens, this is the wonderful thing, is that you collapse timelines. Imagine something in a situation angered you for 2 weeks, right? And now it only angers you for 1 week. Now you gained an extra week where you weren't feeling anger, right? That you just collapsed your timeline. And then if your goal is, your desire is to be peace, you cut your timeline in half. And then next time something angers you, you cut your responses, you know, a day of anger. You saved yourself another 13 days where you would have been angry. So this is how you slowly, when people talk about collapsing timelines, this is how they do it. Their awareness allows them to bring their future version of who they want to be closer to who they are right now. And this works the same in health, right? The future healthy version of you. What does that person look like, right? The future millionaire in you, if you're going for financial abundance, what does that person do? What does that person look like? That's how they start to cut down their responses, right? If money triggers you and you're trying to go for abundance, then how long does it trigger you for? Oh, 2 weeks, great. Now it's 1 week. Now it only triggers me for a moment. Then you've cut down your timelines. And one day you're going to look up and the timeline of who you are and who you want to be is the same. Right? And then you have reached your desire. You fawn, right? I'm just reading. noticed response, said no, then went ahead to eat and numb the emotions of feeling guilty for not saying no. I love it. So we also add in, there's a whole strategy that we do. It's quite interesting. You will fight or flight, like whatever it is your response is. And then if you keep going along that train, you'll start seeing other things that you do to sabotage yourself. Oh, suddenly I find myself in the kitchen. Suddenly I'm in the chip drawer. Suddenly this is happening and I've eaten ice cream, like all of it, not even a bite of it, right? And so you want to know where your sabotaging strategy is so that you can turn it around. And again, the sooner you figure it out in the process, the more you cut down on those timelines on how to get from where you are to where you want to be. Okay. When you're reacting, it's important to know that when you are responding to these stressful situations or trauma situations, that your body is not reacting in the present moment, right? It's reacting, meaning it's reacting based on your past conditioning. Yeah, for sure. Response depends on what abuse you may be dealing with. Absolutely. That's how you first learn to respond, is when you were younger or an event happened in your life that caused you to learn that response. Okay. So when you're reacting, it's your past conditioning. It's something that you're reacting to. So when you're in conversation with somebody and you're thinking about your response, instead of listening to what the person actually is saying, you may think you're listening, but you're actually reacting. When you make a decision from reacting, a state of reacting, there's a certain like emotional charge to it. It's like, fine, be that way, or fine, like it's not based, it's based on the past. And when you're in the past, you can't connect to your intuition. You can't connect to your source because you're connecting to your conditioning. The conditioning is in the past. You can't be in the past, right? And anything in the future is imagination. So you can't be in the future either. You got to be right now in the present moment. And that's where the intuition is. It's not in the past. It's not in the future. It is right now. So you need to react, not even react, it's just be, and then adapt to the situation, whatever arises. Right? You're not able to connect with the intuition because your mind is too busy shouting, but this happened 5 years ago and that time that you did this and all of that, all the things, right? When you feel, the interesting thing is when you feel an emotion, so let's say fear is triggered, you don't just feel the fear of the current incident, right? Because if you did, it wouldn't be that big. You feel like all the fear that you've ever stored in your fear bucket, right? So all your fears come up at once. And that's why fear is so powerful. That's why you're like, oh no, there's no way I'm gonna do this, right? Fear makes you think like you're gonna die. And the joke is that people's number 2 fear is dying, and people's number 1 fear is public speaking. So you'd rather be in the coffin than the one giving the eulogy. That's the joke about fear. But just remember that even in the moment it feels like fear, you have to ask yourself, is this perceived or is this real? Right? I literally play it over. When you catch yourself in that, just play that over and over again, right? Is this real? Is this perceived? Is this real? Is this perceived? And eventually you'll catch yourself out of that loop, right? Okay, so all the fears come up at once. Well, of course you're gonna stop, I think it was funny in one of my groups, I was telling people that I was planning on booking a vacation next year. And then all the fears came up of travel and, oh, what if this happens and that happens? And then my subconscious mind even got to the point where it's like, oh, Lincoln's my son, he has a nut allergy. He's like, what if he has a nut there, and then he has an anaphylactic reaction. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Like my subconscious mind literally said, okay, you're trying to book a vacation, you think your kid's gonna die. No, he's traveled before and he has not had an anaphylactic reaction. And we have EpiPens, right? So like, that is what my subconscious mind did to try and keep me staying where I am, to try and keep me safe. And I laugh about it, and we laugh about it now because you can see it and how ridiculous it sounds. But in the moment, it does not sound ridiculous. right? In the moment, it is very real to you. Right? So when you make decisions to step into your intuition and to hear what it has to say for you, the past conditioning needs to go, right? So let's talk a little bit about the voice of fear versus intuition. They sound different, okay? Yes, fear is definitely snowballing at its worst. So intuition speaks to you from a voice of love and forward movement. So it doesn't yell at you through a voice of fear. I don't have time, I don't have money. That's not, it's a guiding force, right? Intuition says, go here, do this, meet with this person, you know, even if it makes no sense, right? Fear says, stop, don't do it, you're in danger, 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 sound all the alarms. That's what fear says. So intuition is a guiding voice. If something is screaming at you and it makes, then you have to ask yourself, is this fear or is this my intuition talking to me? Because intuition will be like, guide you somewhere. It's a guiding system. I feel compelled to do this thing, even if it makes no sense. I feel drawn to this, even if I don't know why, right? Something in this makes me want to do more of it. Right? When the fear is screaming, it's really hard to listen to your intuition. And so when you're feeling lower emotions like shame, guilt, anger, fear, do you think it's easier or harder to listen to your intuition and the truth of who you are? Right? Of course, it's harder. So we need to get in touch with our own source of wisdom, our own source of intuition. And in order to do that, you have to know who you are, right? A lot of us have our past conditioning. So that includes our parents' voices and other people who, you know, when you were growing up, who had an authority over you, you have all their voices stuck in your head, right? Like even now you might be like, you might have your parents' head, like money doesn't grow on trees, or, you know, you have to work hard all the time, right? Things like that. That's not the voice of who you are. It's the voice of your conditioning, right? And so as long as we are depending on other people's opinions for approval, like including your mom or dad or your husband or whatever unconsciously, or your partner, as long as you're depending on them for approval, then you're not going to be able to fully tap into your own inner power. Got to do the inner work. And most of you are in that. That's why you're here, right? That's why we're all here. It's no reason, there's a bigger reason for why we're talking about tapping into our inner guidance system. Growing up as a child, you had to get your needs met. So that's how you learned. If you were, you know, that good girl, good boy, whatever, you got good grades, you were funny, you were the people pleaser. This is how your parents showed you love. This is how you showed your parents affection. So I want an exercise for you to do is writing down some of the things about yourself. Like, you know I'm a people pleaser. I know I'm a perfectionist. Who did I learn that from? Right? How did I come to learn that? Did someone model it for me? Or did I decide, okay, this is who I was going to be in order to please somebody else, or in order to get my needs met? Okay. What did I get from being that? Did I get love? Did I get affection? Right? And so why is that right? Am I still doing that right now? And does it still serve me? Right? As you got more attention and love and affection for being these things, they became a part of your identity. And this is really true for a lot of kids. Like even now when my kids were like, oh, good girl, good boy, you know, you're good when you do all these things, but they're not, they're just good anyways, right? They don't have to do anything in order to be good, right? But we think, okay, we need to be all the things and do all the things so that someone else can tell us that we're good. And if we make a mistake, we think, oh, we're bad. You know, we made a mistake. It means I'm a bad person. I'm a bad girl, right? And then ultimately it means I'm bad. But then mistakes are part of who we are, right? If you look at a child that made a mistake, you're not going to get upset at them. Why are you so hard on you? Right? Why are we so hard on ourselves? those inner critics, that voice, or those voices, right? So now as a grown-up, you still may be wearing some of these masks that you put on as a child. And this is probably how you still show up to connect with people today. So a good area of self-inquiry is to find out what masks are you wearing or have you been wearing? And then who are you if you take them off? And you get to ask yourself, who am I truly? And for the people who were people pleasers and always trying to, yes, reparenting is needed, definitely. So that's what one of the courses that I teach, we do a reparenting technique, exactly, so that we can reparent ourselves the way we would have wanted to be parented. Right? And so if you're always people pleasing and you're always trying to be someone else, like let's say someone says, oh, where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know, wherever you want to go. What do you want to do here? I don't know, whatever you want to do. Then who are you, right? You don't even know who you are because you're so busy being somebody else. And so people tell you, show up authentically. You need to be authentic right now, but how can you be authentic if you don't know who you are? Right, so there needs to be some work on separating who you are versus who you thought you should be or who other people thought you should be. Okay? So these are some great questions and areas of self-discovery for you. And also giving yourself self-love. People are like, oh, what does that mean, self-love? I think it just means making healthier choices for your body, for your mind, and your spirit, right? So what is a more loving thought I can choose in this moment? What is a more loving emotion for me to experience? How can I love myself more? Oh, give myself grace for making mistakes? Sure, that sounds good. That sounds like I would love myself more to do that. Right? So if you're controlled and triggered, like if you feel like you're triggered by your past, it's really hard to feel like you have choice. When you feel like you have no choice, that is also a sign that your past conditioning is showing up, right? Because there's always a choice, even if you can't see it in the moment, right? So the biggest thing that stops us is usually fear, right? But there's nothing to fear except the fear itself. Fear stops us from moving forward. So I want you to write down, you can put in the chat if you want, or you can just write it down, but what do you fear? What are your fears? Don't have any. Okay. Being abandoned. Yep, that's a good one. Not having all the answers. Yep. Awesome. Keep writing them down. Some people fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear people won't like you, not being loved, fear of success, fear of the unknown. Okay, social intimacy, yeah. Not having, those are good ones. Write them down. We have a lot of fears, as you can see, and some of them you might even see from someone else that you connect with. So I want you to pick one of your fears. Okay, if you don't have one, scarcity, yeah, good. That probably shows up in several areas. So maybe that's a good one for you. If you don't have a fear, come up with something that is currently, that you're working through. So it could be like a health challenge, or it could be, usually it's in the area of health, finances, or relationships, okay? And maybe call it a challenge, okay, instead of a fear. So pick one of the fears, and we're just going to shift the perspective on it. I invite you to do, if you've got a long list of fears, to do this process with all of them. So What have you benefited from having this fear in the past? What has been the benefit of having this fear in the past? And you can just write this down on your own. You don't have to put it in the chat. Okay, so question 1, what benefit has this fear given to you in the past? What benefit has this fear given to you in the past? Does anyone need more time? So question number 2. Why should you be free of this fear now? Why should you be free of this fear now? Why should you be free? Yeah, it could be more than one benefit, absolutely. Why should I be free of this fear now? Usually for the fear, it is, that it's kept you safe in some way. Right? Question number 2, why should I be free of this fear now? Sorry, it's the window. Question number 3, what's the truth? What is the truth? What's the truth? Is there anyone that would like to practice courage and share some of their answers? Okay, go ahead. You'll have to take yourself off mute.
There. Okay, what I've been working through is listening to and speaking my truth. The benefit I received in the past is safety, acceptance of other people, love. Why should I be free of this fear now? That one was interesting because the first thing that came up was because it causes me physical discomfort. And then I went to deeper, right?
Yeah.
Because the world needs my gifts.
Beautiful. That's
Then
a good one.
Said, what is the truth? You're like, but I don't know what the truth is. I don't know what the gifts are. And then it said, well, I know what the gifts are. I'm a healer. I just don't know how. But it says the danger is not real.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's great.
Thank you for the exercise, because my takeaway is both voices were activated, is what I feel. And I could discern what's intuition and what's coming from here?
That's a great point, because when you talk about fears, we're kind of activating the fear, right? And then also when we're asking what's the truth, we're activating the intuition. That was the gift in this. And it's okay if it didn't come up. Just try it with other fears, right? And maybe when you have more time, right? But the gift was seeing, in addition to seeing what the truth actually is, also that the two voices may talk to you at the same time. Like one's yelling, oh, you're not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And then the other one is saying, because you have a gift to give, right? Because you have a reason to be here. That's why you're still here. So great job. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a bit of a meditation so that we can move through some of the energy of the fear that was brought up. Okay. So I want you just to close your eyes, get your feet planted or lying down, get in a comfortable position. Give everyone a second to do that. And you're going to start by taking breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And in through the nose. And as you inhale, inhale a little bit more. And out through the mouth, letting the exhale go further down. Inhale. And exhale. So what you're going to do is to replay the fear that you were just working on. However, at the same time, you're going to keep your awareness in your body. So in your head, you're going to say, this is my fear. This is what I'm scared of, like scarcity, you know? And then in your body, you're going to feel, oh, where is it tight? Where is there dis-ease? Where is there unease, pain, discomfort? You're going to figure out where the fear has some energy in your body. And if you don't know, if there's an area of you, that part of you that has a lot of pain, you can just put your hands there. Okay. So in this area that's uncomfortable, tight, it's where you have a pattern anchored into your nervous system surrounding this fear. So I want you to put your hands on top of that area of tension, wherever it is in your body, nice and gentle. And breathe gently into the areas of tension, unease, discomfort. And I want you to thank your fear. Thank you to the fear, because it's been here this whole time, helping you, trying to protect you, trying to keep you safe. So we want to acknowledge it for having been here to do that. Good. Breathe into it. Thank the fear for doing its best to help you, for accompanying you in this lifetime. Just really bring gratitude to this fear, because it's doing what it knows best, and that is to keep you safe and alive. After you thank it, let the fear know that it served its purpose. It's completed its task here, and that you no longer require its service anymore. Let the energy, let the fear know that it's time for it to dissolve and leave. And as you say that, I want you to breathe it out of your body while making a sound. So it could sound like, or it could be like a, ah, whatever noise you want to make. Breathe out your fear from your body. Breathe out the tension in your body. And make the sound of it as it releases. That's it, good. And again, deep breaths in, and as you breathe out, make the sound of the tension leaving the body. That's it. And when you're ready, I want you to slowly bring your hands to your sides. Feel your body. Observe your breath. Wiggle your toes, come back to now. Come back here. Is there anyone that would like to share their experience? Okay, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
You too.
So what I saw for my fear was, I saw it like a little cartoon character, who kind of seemed friendly, but had a very like grimacing type of face. So his intent wasn't always light and fluffy. He served a purpose to me, right? So kind of thanking that, I've never done this exercise before, so it was really interesting acknowledging that little beast was there for that amount of time. And when I wanted to release, or when I did release, I kept it minimal, but to be honest, I really wanted to scream at the top of my lungs. The only reason I didn't, I just didn't want to scare my husband in the other room, but I could feel the release, like it was just boiling and bubbling up. And then as we kind of went back down again, I felt so much more relaxed and my hands were tingling. So a bit more at peace.
Beautiful. If you are able to, because I'm going to send you the recording of this, redo it again, but this time, like, just warn your husband you're going to scream.
Yeah.
And literally scream it out, because the piece you receive on the other end is going to be even deeper than where you are right now.
Yeah, I totally get that. I feel that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, you can go through, this was just one fear, right? You can move through a list of, if you've got lots of fears, then you move through the process with all the different fears that you have. Imagine how much ease is going to be in your body when you let go of all those fears, the energy of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is also an exercise you can do whenever you feel like you are in a fear. Connect with it in your body and then release it. Right. And sometimes, I've done this a few times, on the other end, when I'm really quiet, your voice of intuition will speak to you and tell you what the next step is. Okay. And right now, the energy of the fall is that of change, of transformation, right? The leaves fall off the trees, there's so much color. It is a time where you can take a lot of actions and big steps and really see like the next level and the quantum leaps. So fall is always a good time for that energy, for the harvesting, all of that part. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Awesome, good job. Let's see, for next month is November. Yes, November already, November. I'm gonna have another complimentary workshop, as I usually do every month or two. And this one is gonna be tapping into something about destiny, change your destiny. I think that's what it is. It was a big one. It hasn't come, just the title has come to me. I write these workshops as we go. So that's the title of it. I don't know what it's about yet. I'll let you know when I figure it out, but you can register with the link in my weekly emails. And for those of you that don't know, some of you already are coming, but starting tomorrow, I'm doing a 8-week course. I wasn't offering it to everybody, so that's why no one knows about it except for the people who are in the program, but it is about letting go of your past. And so if any of this information connected with you and you do want to take it into a deeper dive, then I am starting it tomorrow. It's on Zoom. You can attend. It's at 11 a.m. You can watch it live or you can watch it on the replay. If you do want to come, I'm just putting the registration in the link. But again, there's no like sales page or anything like that because I wasn't planning on announcing it because again, it's tomorrow. But this morning I was finishing off this presentation and my guidance inner voice said, you know what, it might be good for somebody, so put it out there. And so that is it if you want to join. So as for anything else coming up, yes, if you are on Facebook or Instagram, you can find me. My Instagram is at dr.amandachan. I do reels and all these things so that you guys can have more tools, more skills, more of whatever it is that you need to get to the desires that you want. So I thank you so much for coming today. Always fun. And we will see you at the next one.
Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Amanda. Bye, everyone.
Bye.